Chosen one, stop. Don't scroll. Don't look away. Because what I'm about to say next, you have needed to hear for a very long time. You are dangerously late, not a little behind, not just delayed, dangerously late. And somewhere deep in your chest, you already know it. There is a calling inside you that has been waiting so long it has grown quiet. Not gone, quiet. Like a lamp still burning in an empty house at 3 inches the morning. Faithful, steady, but the night is almost gone. Let me ask you something nobody has had the courage to ask you. What if you have been carrying something sacred your entire life and never fully became it? What if God opened the door not once, not twice, but again and again, and something in you kept saying, not yet, not now, maybe next year. And now here you are. The decades behind you feel heavier than the years ahead look long. Younger people are walking through doors that once had your name on them, and you watch from a distance wearing a smile that doesn't quite reach your eyes because deep down, a voice whispers what you're afraid to say out loud. What if I missed it? That shame is real. That fear is real. That spiritual exhaustion after years of believing and waiting and postponing, that is real. But here is the shocking truth that changes everything. God has not reassigned your calling. The assignment is still breathing, still waiting, still carrying your name. But beloved, the window is not indefinite. There is a train still sitting at the station. The doors are open, the engine is already hissing, and the conductor is looking directly at you. How many more departures will you watch from the platform? Stay with me through this entire message, because I am going to show you 5 undeniable signs that your calling is still alive. I'm going to show you the difference between being late and being made ready. And I'm going to ask you one question that will expose the truth, whether you are in divine timing or hiding behind it. This is not your final chapter, unless you choose it to be. If your spirit already knows this message, found you on purpose, type right now, I'm still here, because God is too. Let me ask you something that might be the most important question anyone has ever asked you. Not about your finances, not about your health, not about your family. About you. The real you. The one that existed before life told you to be practical. When was the last time you felt completely whole? Not happy. Not fine. Not managing. Whole. Because there is a specific kind of pain that has nothing to do with sickness, nothing to do with loss, nothing to do with anything the world can see or measure. It lives in the quiet spaces, between Sunday morning and Monday reality, between who you are and who you always sensed you were supposed to become. And if you have carried that pain long enough, you stopped talking about it. You got good at working around it. You built your days carefully, the way you arrange furniture around a hole in the floor, functional, presentable, but always conscious of what you are avoiding. I want to name that pain today, precisely, because you deserve to finally hear someone say it out loud. There are 5 signs, 5 unmistakable signs that you have been carrying a calling for far too long without answering it. Sign 1. Even on your best days, something feels missing. Not depression, not ingratitude. Something more specific than that. A hollow space that sits just beneath the surface of your ordinary life. You could be surrounded by people who love you, sitting at a table full of blessings, and still feel it, that quiet absence, that unnamed thing, like a room in your soul that is beautifully furnished but has never actually been lived in. You have learned to carry it gracefully, but it has never left. Sign 2. You feel a particular ache when you watch someone else step into something that felt like yours. Not jealousy, something quieter than that, more painful than that. You watch someone younger, someone with less history, less preparation, less apparent suffering, step confidently into a role that once felt written with your name on it. And something inside you doesn't understand. Not bitterness, just a deep, wordless why them and not me. You never say it out loud, but the question has never fully gone away either. Sign 3. Your tolerance changed. Somewhere along the way, rooms that used to feel comfortable began to feel suffocating. Conversations that once satisfied you started to drain something essential. You pulled back from certain people, certain environments, certain versions of your old life, not in anger, but because something in you simply could no longer afford to stay there. People around you may not have understood it, but you did. Something was protecting itself. Something was saving its strength for a purpose it hadn't yet been given permission to pursue. Sign 4. The dreams began, or maybe they returned. Not ordinary sleep, something different, vivid, directional, specific in the way that ordinary dreaming is not. You wake from them carrying something, not just an image, but a weight, a sense that something was communicated while the daylight noise was finally quiet enough for heaven to get through. And in the waking hours, the sudden flashes, the uninvited thought at 2 in the afternoon, I was made for more than this. The whisper you can't trace to any logical source. The pull toward something you have never been fully able to name, but have never been fully able to ignore. Job 33:14, 1:5 says it plainly, God speaks in one way, and in two, though man does not perceive it. In a dream, in a vision of the night, God has been talking. In the dreams, in the nudges, in the restlessness you mistook for anxiety. Sign 5. No matter how many times you buried it, it came back. This is the deepest sign of all. You tried to be realistic. You made peace with a smaller version of your life. You told yourself it was too late, too complicated, too much to ask at this stage. You stopped talking about it first to other people, then eventually to yourself. And then one morning, without warning, without invitation, it returned. Like a song you were absolutely certain you had forgotten, suddenly playing note perfect in the back of your mind. Like embers under ash that the world swore had gone cold, still holding their heat in secret. Like something sealed inside you, rattling from the inside, patient, persistent, refusing to accept that you were finished. That is not torment, beloved. That is evidence. Evidence that the assignment never expired. Evidence that heaven does not abandon a commission simply because the person carrying it got tired, got hurt, got quiet, got old. Hebrews 11:1 says, faith is the evidence of things not seen. And that knowing inside you, the one that will not leave, that is not delusion. That is not wishful thinking from a mind that never matured. That is a live signal from a frequency that does not shut down. Now hear me carefully, because this is the truth that will either break you open or break you free. The deepest pain in your life may not be failure. It may be the pain of unspent obedience. Not what you did wrong, what you were right about, and never fully delivered. That is a different kind of grief, and it is the grief that God is addressing in this message, right now, directly, for you. If even one of those 5 signs lives inside you, type right now, the knowing returned. Because what you are about to discover next will change everything you thought you understood about why you waited this long, and what God has actually been doing inside every year of silence. Let me ask you something that might sting a little. How many times have you looked at your life, really looked and done the math, counted the years, tallied the birthdays, measured the distance between where you are and where you believed God said you would be? And how many times did that math destroy you? Because that is what human clock time does. It counts, it compares, it humiliates. It sits across the table from your faith like a cold prosecutor and lays out the evidence against you every year that passed, every door that didn't open, every person younger than you who seems to be living the life you were promised. That clock has a name. The ancient Greeks called it Kronos. Kronos is the calendar on your wall. It's your retirement age. It's the cruel arithmetic of comparison that whispers, you should have arrived by now. Kronos is merciless. It does not pause for your grief. It does not wait while you recover from betrayal. It does not hold while you find your footing after the loss that broke you at 53, at 61, at 72. Kronos just keeps moving, cold, indifferent, counting. And most people, most chosen people, have been measuring their entire destiny against a clock that was never built for them. But there is another word, Another kind of time entirely. The same ancient Greeks, the ones who wrote in the very language the New Testament was recorded in, they had a second word. A word so different from Kronos that it belongs in a completely different universe. They called it Chairos. Chairos is not the next moment on the calendar. Chairos is the right moment, the appointed convergence, the sacred intersection where your inner readiness and God's external alignment finally meet, and something that was written before your birth finally becomes visible on earth. Ecclesiastes 3:1 says it plainly, "To everything there is a season, and a time for every purpose under heaven." That word time in the original language, that is Chairos, not a deadline, an appointment. Here is what nobody told you. Here is the curtain being pulled back. A calling written in Chairos will always feel late when measured by Kronos. Always. Without exception. You were never supposed to use a wristwatch to read ocean tides. You were never supposed to use a house key to open a vault. And you were never supposed to evaluate a divine appointment against a human calendar. But you did. We all did. And it cost us something. It cost us our confidence. It cost us our peace. It cost us decades of quiet shame over a timeline that was never even ours to manage. Kronos said, "You're behind." And you believed it. Kronos said, "Look at them younger, faster, further along," and something inside you agreed. Kronos said, "Maybe you misheard God. Maybe the calling wasn't real. Maybe the window already closed while you were figuring yourself out." And that voice, that cold, calculating, merciless voice that was never the voice of heaven, because Chairos says something completely different. Chairos says, "You are being aligned." Chairos says, "What looks like delay from the outside is construction from the inside." Chairos says, "The seed is not dead. It is simply still underground, and the roots are going deeper than you know." Think about that seed for a moment. A seed buried in dark soil, no sunlight, no visible growth, no evidence to anyone watching from above that anything is happening at all. By every human measurement, by every Kronos calculation, that seed looks finished, looks forgotten, looks like a waste of good ground. But underground, something extraordinary is happening. Roots are forming that will one day make the tree unmovable. A foundation is being laid that no storm will break. The very darkness that looked like burial was actually building. That is not poetry. That is your life. Every year you thought was wasted. Every season that felt like silence. Every morning you woke up still carrying the same unfinished calling and wondered if God had simply moved on without you. Those years were not empty. They were underground formation. You were not failing the calendar. You were being formed for the appointment. And now I can hear the question rising in you, because it is the honest question, the real question, the one that separates genuine seekers from people who just want to feel better for 20 minutes. But if this was Chairos preparation, why did it hurt so badly? Why did it feel like burial instead of building? Why did the hidden years feel so much like wasted years? That is the right question. That is the question that deserves a real answer. Because there is a reason the preparation felt like punishment. There is a reason the forming felt like forgetting. There is a reason the enemy works so hard to make divine timing feel like divine abandonment. And it is one of the most effective lies he has ever told. Stay with me, because next, I am going to show you exactly what God was building inside you during the years that felt like nothing. The years that looked empty from the outside, but were carrying the most sacred work of your entire life. What was being constructed in the dark is about to make complete sense in the light. Let me ask you something that might sting a little. When you look back at the last 10, 20, 30 years of your life, what word comes to mind first? For most people watching right now, that word is wasted. Wasted in a job that never felt like the right fit. Wasted in a marriage that drained everything you had. Wasted in a hospital room, a caregiving season that lasted so long you forgot what your own dreams felt like. Wasted in a church pew where nobody ever called your name forward. Wasted in financial struggles so grinding, so relentless, that survival became your entire vocabulary and purpose became a luxury you couldn't afford. And somewhere along the way, you stopped calling it waiting. You started calling it failure. But I need you to hear this, and I need you to hear it, like your life depends on it, because it just might. What you called burial, God called planting. There is a tree, the coastal redwood, that grows taller than a 30-story building. It survives wildfires that incinerate everything around it. It stands for 2,000 years, through earthquakes, through storms, through centuries of change that bury civilizations. But here is what nobody tells you about that tree. Before a single inch appears above ground, that tree spends its longest season completely underground, building what nobody can see, pushing roots deeper and wider and stronger in absolute darkness, with zero applause, zero audience, zero visible evidence that anything is happening at all. And if you judged that tree during those hidden years, you would call it dead. You would be wrong. Chosen one, the ground you felt buried under was never your grave, it was your greenhouse. Ecclesiastes 3:11 says God makes everything beautiful in its time, not in your time, not in the timeline your ambition designed. In His time, and His time always includes a hidden season that looks, from the outside, like absolutely nothing is happening. But God does not do nothing. He builds in the dark what He will display in the light. Think about what those hidden years actually produced in you, not what they cost you, what they built. They built endurance, real endurance, not the motivational poster kind, the kind that gets tested at 2 inches the morning when there is nothing left, and you chose to believe anyway. They built discernment. You can read a room now. You can sense what's real and what's performance. You cannot be easily fooled because you have lived through enough to know the difference between gold and glitter. They built humility. And I want to be direct with you. Genuine humility is not weakness. It is the rarest form of strength. It is what makes a person safe enough to carry real authority without destroying the people around them. They built a detachment from applause that most people never develop because most people never had to. You learned to keep moving when nobody clapped. You learned to stay faithful when nobody noticed. That quality alone disqualifies 90% of the people who want what you were built to carry, and they built capacity. The structural ability to hold weight that would collapse someone who had not been through what you have been through. The Bible says in Romans 5:3, suffering produces perseverance, perseverance, character, and character, hope. That is not poetry, that is architecture. God was building load-bearing beams inside you during every season you thought He had gone silent, every grief, every financial humiliation. Every year you sat in the back of the church and watched someone younger, someone with less history and less pain, step into a spotlight that felt like it had your name on it. He was not absent, He was engineering. Now let me press on something real. Some of you spent years caring for a parent, a spouse, a child with special needs, and you watched your calling recede into the background like a ship you never got to board. You told yourself it was the right thing to do, and it was. But the grief of that sacrifice never fully left you, did it? Some of you endured financial seasons so brutal that you had to bury your God-given gifts just to keep the lights on. You had a vision, you had a voice, you had something, and circumstances demanded you trade it for survival. And the enemy whispered in those moments, "See, it wasn't real. If it were real, God would have protected it." That was a lie. God was not protecting the vision from the suffering. He was running the vision through the suffering, because what you were being prepared to carry required a foundation that comfort could never build. Psalm 126:5. Those who sow in tears will reap in joy. You have been sowing in tears, in silence, in seasons. Nobody applauded and nobody witnessed. The harvest has not cancelled. It has been accumulating. What you called wasted years may be the very thing that keeps your future from collapsing when the weight of it finally arrives. You were not buried. You were planted. If that is your truth, If somewhere in your bones you recognize that the ground you've been under was preparation and not punishment, say it right now. Type it, speak it, claim it out loud. I was planted, not buried. Because here is what changes everything about that truth. If the roots are real, and they are, then the question is no longer whether you were prepared. The question is, what exactly were you prepared to hold? And that answer is coming next. Before I go any further, I need you to do something. I need you to set down every accusation you have been carrying against yourself. Every "I should have done this sooner." Every "I waited too long." Every quiet, crushing whisper that says the best of your story is already behind you. Set it down, just for the next few minutes, because I am about to show you something in Scripture that will permanently change how you see every year you thought you wasted. Let's start with Joseph, 17 years old. He receives a dream so clear, so specific, so undeniably God that he cannot stop talking about it. His own brothers are going to bow before him. Nations are going to be saved through him. The vision is massive. The calling is real. And then everything falls apart. Thrown into a pit. Sold like cargo. Falsely accused. Forgotten in a prison cell for years with no explanation and no update from heaven. Now tell me something honestly. If you were Joseph, sitting in that Egyptian prison at 30 years old, would you have believed the dream was still alive? Most of us would have buried it. But here is what nobody tells you about Joseph's story. God was not slow. God was strategic. Joseph could not walk into the palace one day after the pit, not because he wasn't gifted enough, because Pharaoh wasn't ready yet. The empire that Joseph was designed to save had not yet reached the moment of crisis that would require exactly what Joseph carried. Prison did not delay Joseph's destiny. Prison forged the shoulders that could carry the weight of a palace. 13 years between the dream and the throne. And when Chairos arrived, it happened in a single afternoon. Now let's talk about Moses. 40 years raised in the most powerful empire on earth. Education, status, influence, everything. The world calls a head start. And then one act of passion dismantles all of it. He flees into the wilderness, becomes a shepherd, disappears into obscurity for another 40 years. 80 years old when God finally speaks from the burning bush. 80. The world looks at that and calls it tragedy. God looked at it and called it completion, because God did not want the Moses who grew up in Pharaoh's palace. That Moses still had an ego. That Moses still believed his own strength was the solution. The desert spent 40 years doing something no Egyptian education ever could. It sanded him down to pure obedience. And the man who walked toward that burning bush was not diminished by age. He was distilled by it. Chosen one, hear me clearly. The desert does not disqualify the person it forms. It qualifies them in ways that comfort never could. And Moses is not alone. Abraham was 75 years old when God first called him to leave everything familiar. Sarah was 90 when she held the promise in her arms. Anna spent 84 years in the temple, praying through every sunrise and every disappointment, and she was standing in exactly the right place on exactly the right morning when the Messiah arrived. And then there is Caleb, 85 years old, after 40 years of wandering, after watching a generation die in the wilderness because they were too afraid to move forward. Caleb walks up to Joshua and says 7 words that should be tattooed on the heart of every person watching this right now. Give me this mountain. Joshua 14:12. Not give me rest, not give me comfort, not give me a chair and a quiet place to finish out my years. Give me this mountain. That is not the language of someone who believes their best days are behind them. That is the language of someone who finally understands that everything they endured was preparation, not punishment. And Esther, a young woman, yes, but listen to the principle. She did not rush into the king's court the moment she arrived in the palace. She waited, she was prepared, she was positioned, and when the moment arrived, her cousin Mordecai said the words that echo through every generation. Who knows whether you have not come to the kingdom for such a time as this? Esther 4:14. Such a time as this. Not such a time as 10 years ago. Not such a time as when you were younger and faster and less worn down by life. Such a time as this. Chosen one. The world may look at your age and call it a limitation. Heaven looks at your history and calls it a credential. The world may see the years and call them lost. God sees the formation and calls it finished. You are not disqualified by how long this has taken. You may be exactly on time for the first time in your life. The palace wait always requires prison-forged shoulders. The burning bush always finds the person the desert already shaped. The lock always waits for the key that took decades to cut properly. God did not forget you. He may have simply been refusing to release you early, because what he placed inside you is too important to be carried by an unprepared version of yourself. So let me ask you something, and I need you to sit with this question as we move forward. If God has been building you all this time, if the calling is still alive, if the window is still open, then what exactly has been keeping you from walking through it? Because that is what we are going after next. If you believe God still uses people in the second half of life, type right now, "I'm not disqualified," because you are not. And it is time you started living like you know it. Let me tell you something that might be the most uncomfortable truth you hear all year. You have been calling it patience. You have been calling it wisdom. You have been calling it waiting on God's timing. But what if it isn't any of those things? What if the real reason you haven't moved is standing right behind your eyes, disguised in the language of faith? Chosen one, I need you to hear this with your whole spirit, not just your ears. Because what I'm about to expose is not your enemy outside. It is not the economy. It is not your age. It is not the people who overlooked you or the doors that closed too soon. The enemy holding you back has your face, and it has learned to speak in scripture. There are 3 patterns, 3 specific ways the fear operates, and I want to walk through each one slowly because I believe at least one of them is going to feel like I've been reading your private journal. The first pattern is forcing. You felt the calling stir, and instead of moving in alignment, you grabbed the door and pushed. You networked harder, you prayed longer lists, you manufactured urgency. And every time you pushed, something shifted, just not in the direction you needed. Proverbs 16:9 says it plainly, "A man's heart plans his way, but the Lord directs his steps." You were planning the steps yourself. And when your plan didn't open the door, you assumed the door was closed. But beloved, you were never supposed to force it. You were supposed to follow it. The second pattern is more painful to name. There were moments, real moments, when the door opened genuinely. The opportunity was real. The confirmation was real. The provision was lining up. And right at the edge of it, you backed away. Not because God said stop, because something in your chest said, "What if this hurts again?" You have been disappointed so many times that your nervous system stopped trusting hope. You started treating breakthrough like a threat. And so at the exact moment when things became real, when the weight of the calling became tangible, something chose the familiar over the threshold. That is not spiritual discernment, dear one. That is a wound wearing the costume of wisdom. Hebrews 10:39 draws a line in the sand. We are not of those who shrink back. That word shrink back was written for someone who knew the truth, felt the truth, and pulled away from it anyway. God saw that pattern 2,000 years ago and called it by name. He's calling it by name in your life right now. But the third pattern, this is the one nobody talks about. This is the one that lives in the dark corner of your most honest moments. You are not afraid of failing. You are afraid of arriving. You are afraid that if this becomes real, people will watch you. They will form opinions. Your family might not understand the new version of you. The people you've known for 40 years might feel left behind. And the weight of carrying something significant with what feels like limited time left, that weight terrifies you more than staying small ever could. So let me ask you the question I promised you earlier. How do you know if you are truly waiting on God or hiding behind spiritual language? Here's how you know. Ask yourself this. If God removed all the fear right now completely, instantly, would you still be waiting? If the answer is no, then you were never waiting on God. You were waiting on your fear to calm down. And here is the brutal, loving New York truth. Fear does not calm down before you move. It calms down because you moved. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is the decision that the calling is more important than the comfort. Think about this picture. You are standing at the airport gate. The ticket is in your hand. Your name is printed right on it. The gate agent is calling for final boarding. The jetway is open, and you are still standing there reorganizing your carry-on, checking your phone one more time, telling yourself you need just a little more confirmation before you board. But the plane doesn't wait forever. And there is something worse than missing the flight. It's watching the plane disappear into the clouds from the window, holding a valid ticket, knowing you had every right to be on it. Chosen one, the door may not be closed. It may be wide open, and you may be the one hesitating. Right now, before we go one step further, I want you to make a private decision in your spirit, not for anyone watching, not for the comment section, just between you and God. If He exposes the fear in this message, you will stop calling it timing. If you're ready to make that decision, type right now, expose the fear. Because what comes next in this message is going to show you something that will change the way you see every year you've called wasted, every season you've called silence, every delay you've accepted as your story. Because God has not been silent. He has been building. And what He built inside you, while the fear kept you waiting, that is what we are uncovering next. Chosen one, I need you to slow down right here. Not because what comes next is complicated, because it is confronting. And confronting things requires stillness to fully land. Everything I have said, up to this moment, the calling, the delay, the window still open, it all leads here, to this. 3 questions. That is all. 3 questions that will cut through every spiritual-sounding explanation you have ever given yourself for why you are still standing at the edge instead of walking through. The ancient Greeks had a word for this kind of moment. They called it crisis, not catastrophe, judgment. The moment of separation when what is true gets divided from what only felt true. That is what this is. Not an attack, a clarification. Think of it as an X-ray on your soul, not to wound you, to show you exactly what is there, what is real, and what has been quietly masquerading as wisdom. The Bible says it plainly in Hebrews 4:12. The Word of God is living and active, sharper than any two-edged sword, piercing to the division of soul and spirit. That sword is in your hands right now, and you are about to use it on yourself, honestly, completely, without the protection of comfortable excuses. Are you ready? Question 1. Is what is stopping me right now truly unreadiness? Or is it the fear of what obedience will actually cost? Sit with that. Don't answer fast. Because there is a difference, a vast, canyon-wide difference between genuinely needing more preparation and simply being terrified of what saying yes will demand from you. Terrified of the relationships it might disrupt, the comfort it might disturb, the version of yourself you would have to finally leave behind. Unreadiness says, I need more time to grow. Fear says, I need more time, and never finishes the sentence honestly. Which one is speaking inside you right now? Question 2. Have I been waiting for perfect conditions? Or have I been waiting for my courage to finally catch up to my calling? Chosen one, perfect conditions are a myth that delay invented. Moses did not have perfect conditions at the burning bush. He had a stutter and a criminal record in Egypt. Esther did not have perfect conditions. She had an uninvited audience with a king who could legally execute her. David did not have perfect conditions. He had a giant, a slingshot, and brothers who laughed at him. Ecclesiastes 11:4 warns us directly. Whoever watches the wind will not plant. Whoever looks at the clouds will not harvest. You cannot keep studying the weather of your circumstances and call it discernment. At some point, the watching becomes the problem. The conditions are never going to be perfect. They were never designed to be, because God is not looking for the perfect moment. He is looking for the willing person inside the imperfect moment. So ask yourself honestly, what are you actually waiting for? Question 3. This is the one that separates everything. If you knew with absolute certainty that this window would close in 30 days, would you still be waiting for the exact same reason you are waiting right now? Would the excuse still hold? Would the hesitation still feel justified? Would the delay still feel like wisdom? If your honest answer is no, then what you have been calling divine timing is something else entirely, and you know it. This is the courtroom where excuses get separated from truth. No flattering mirrors here, no gentle reframing, just the raw, clear verdict of your own conscience standing before God. And here is the sentence I told you was coming. The one that will either break your heart or set you free. Some people are genuinely in divine timing, and some people are using divine timing as a shelter from movement. Both groups use the same language. Both groups pray. Both groups quote scripture. But only one group is actually moving, even slowly, even imperfectly, in the direction of what they were built for. The other group has learned to dress stillness in spiritual clothing and call it waiting on the Lord. Jeremiah 29:11 is real. I know the plans I have for you. But read the verse that follows. God also said, when you seek me with your whole heart, you will find me. The finding requires movement. The whole heart requires honesty. So, chosen one, before we go any further, I am asking you to make a decision right now, not next Sunday, not after you finish this video and think about it for another week. Right now, pick one, just one. Make the call you have been avoiding. Reopen the journal you closed 2 years ago. Pray out loud again, not silently, not in your head, but out loud, like someone who actually believes they are being heard. Begin the work, even one page, even one paragraph, even one step. Reconcile with the calling you walked away from and never fully stopped thinking about. One move. That is all Chairos requires of you, not a finished product, a first step. If you are ready to make that move, if something in this audit cracked something open inside you, comment right now, I will move. Let heaven and earth both witness that declaration. Because in the next part of this message, I am going to show you what God has actually been building inside you during every season that felt like silence. And when you see it, when you truly see what those years were for you, we'll never call them wasted again. Can I tell you something that might be the most important thing anyone has ever said to you? You were not forgotten. You were not passed over. You were not rejected. You were not disqualified. You were being made ready. Say that again inside yourself. Let it land somewhere deeper than your mind. Let it reach the place that has been bruised for years, the place that stopped expecting, stopped hoping, stopped believing it was still possible. Because here is what I know about you. You did not just wait. You survived the waiting. And there is a violent difference between those two things. Jeremiah 29:11 says, For I know the plans I have for you, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you a future and a hope. God did not say I had plans. He did not say I once had plans before you took so long. He said I know, present tense, active tense, right now tense. The plan never expired. But beloved, the person required to carry it had to be built. Think about a bridge. Before a single car ever crosses it, engineers load that bridge with more weight than it will ever be asked to hold in real life. They stress test it. They push it to its limits deliberately, not to break it, to prove it will not break when it matters. Every year you thought God was absent. He was load testing the bridge. Every season that stripped something from you that was structural engineering, every relationship that left, every door that closed, every dream that went silent, every morning you woke up and chose to believe one more day when the night before you had already decided to stop. That was construction. And here is what was being removed during those years, because something had to go before something greater could come. The addiction to other people's approval. Gone. You cannot carry a God-sized calling and still need a room full of people to validate it. The false identities, the performer, the people-pleaser, the one who shrinks to make others comfortable, gone. Because what God is placing in your hands requires your real face, not the one you learned to wear for survival. The fear-driven, smaller living. The life you built just small enough that if it collapsed, it wouldn't hurt too badly. Gone. Because small living was never your design. It was your defense mechanism. And God, in his fierce, relentless, immovable love for you, refused to release you half-formed. Let me say that one more time, because I need you to feel the full weight of it. The delay did not mean you were forgotten. It meant God refused to release you half-formed. A violin is tuned off stage, in the dark, before the performance ever begins. Nobody in the audience witnesses that process. Nobody applauds the tuning. But when that instrument walks into the light, and the first note rises, the room feels it. Every moment of tension in the dark produced the resonance in the light. That has been your life. A blade is not sharpened in comfort. It is sharpened against resistance, drawn across stone, again and again, in a process that looks like damage, but is actually refinement. Every time life pressed against you, every time you were dragged across something hard and rough and painful, God was not punishing you. He was making you sharp, sharp enough for what is coming, sharp enough for what the calling requires, sharp enough that when the moment arrives, you will cut through in one motion what would have taken years before. Now I need you to do something that might be uncomfortable. I need you to grieve, not in despair, in honesty. Grieve the years you spent believing you were behind when you were actually being built. Grieve the mornings you woke up feeling like a failure when heaven was calling you faithful. Grieve the decades you spent measuring yourself against a clock that was never designed for the kind of assignment you carry. Let yourself feel that, all of it. Because on the other side of that grief is something you have not felt in a very long time. Hope that is not fragile. Not the hope you talk yourself into on good days. Not the hope that evaporates the first time something goes wrong. But the kind of hope that has been tested, stripped, pressed, and still refuses to die. That hope has been alive in you this entire time. It is why you are still here. It is why something in you responded when this message found you today. It is why no matter how many times you decided you were done believing, the believing always came back. Romans 5:4 says that suffering produces perseverance. Perseverance produces character, and character produces hope. You did not just accumulate years, you accumulated character. And character is the very thing your calling has been waiting for. The root work was real, the formation was real, the testing was real, and the person you became inside, the waiting, that is the point of all of it. If that truth just hit something deep inside you, write it right now. I was being made ready. Let heaven see your agreement. Let your own soul hear you say it out loud. Because now that you understand what the preparation was building, there is one question left. Does God simply return what the waiting cost you? Or does he do something far greater than that? What comes next will change how you see every single year you thought was lost. Let me tell you something that religion rarely says out loud. God is not a fair exchanger. He doesn't do even trades. He doesn't hand back exactly what was taken and call it settled. That is not how he operates. That has never been how he operates. And for someone who has spent years, maybe decades, quietly grieving what felt like lost time, lost purpose, lost seasons that will never come back, this truth is about to change everything you thought you understood about your delay. Open your Bible to Joel 2:25. God speaks directly, and he says this: I will restore to you the years that the locust has eaten. Now most people hear that and picture a simple return, like a refund, like getting back exactly what was stolen, dollar for dollar, year for year. That sounds comforting enough, but that is not what the Hebrew says. The word God uses is shalom, and shalom does not mean replacement. It does not mean equal exchange. Shalom means to be made whole, complete, overpaid. It is the language of a court that finds in your favor and orders the thief to return not just what he took, but 5 times what he stole. Not face value. Interest. Compounded. Disproportionate. Beyond calculation. Chosen one, do you understand what that means for your life right now? Those years you called wasted, God calls them debt owed to you. Those seasons you called silence, heaven recorded every single one as evidence in a case being settled in your favor. The decades that felt like drought, like nothing was growing, like you had somehow missed the harvest entirely, God didn't forget the field. He was letting the roots go deeper than you knew. Now here is where I need to press something directly into your heart, because this is the part that older viewers especially need to hear, and almost nobody says it clearly enough. Restoration at your age does not look like going back. It cannot. It was never meant to. And if you have been quietly waiting for God to give you back your 30s, your 40s, the energy you once had, the doors that once seemed open, beloved, that is not the promise. And chasing that version of restoration will keep you standing still. What shalom looks like in the second half of life is something weightier than youth ever was. It looks like recovered authority, the kind that only comes from someone who survived what should have broken them. It looks like a voice that carries rooms, not because it is loud, but because it has been through something that cannot be manufactured or faked. It looks like healed family lines, generational patterns that end with you because you finally said yes to the assignment that was always yours. It looks like legacy. It looks like grandchildren who inherit freedom they didn't have to fight for because you fought for it first. It looks like purpose so intensified in your later years that people half your age look at your life and cannot explain what they are witnessing, because they are witnessing shalom. And shalom doesn't look like what the world calls a comeback. It looks like what God calls a coronation. Think about Moses. He spent 40 years in a wilderness, 40 years feeling invisible, forgotten, reduced. A prince stripped down to a shepherd with no audience and no platform and no sign that anything was ever coming. He was 80 years old when God appeared in that burning bush. 80. And God didn't say, "I'm sorry you missed your window." God said, "Now, go, I will be with you." The most consequential assignment of Moses' entire life began at 80 years old, not despite the wilderness, because of it. The desert didn't disqualify him. The desert made him. Stripped away everything that would have gotten in the way of what God was about to place in his hands. And now I need to ask you something that requires courage to answer honestly. What if the shame you have been carrying, the quiet grief over years you feel you wasted, over the calling you kept postponing, over the version of yourself you never fully became? What if God is not holding any of that against you? What if He has been holding it for you? What if every year you thought disqualified you has actually been building into a debt that heaven is now, right now, in this season preparing to repay? Not at face value, with interest. God is not bringing you back to where you were. He may be bringing you into something far weightier than anything you lost. A harvest coming from fields you were certain died in the drought. Morning light, finally finding a house that has been shuttered too long. A door swinging open that no human hand can close. Jeremiah 29:11 says it plainly. "I know the plans I have for you, plans to prosper you, not to harm you, plans to give you a future and a hope." He said future, not past, not recovered memory, future. Your greatest chapter has not been written yet. And if you believe truly, believe that God can restore beyond face value, that shalom is real, that the debt owed to your years of faithfulness is about to be settled with interest, type it right now, restore with interest. Because if that is true, and it is, then only one question remains. What do you do now? Chosen one, we have come to the moment everything in this message has been building toward. And I need you to hear what I am about to say, not just with your mind, but with the deepest part of who you are. Because this is not a closing thought. This is not a warm farewell. This is a commissioning. And there is a difference between the two, that could determine the entire trajectory of whatever years God has still placed in front of you. A closing thought lets you walk away unchanged. A commissioning sends you somewhere. This one is sending you somewhere. Before you were born, before your mother knew your name, before a single breath had filled your lungs, God wrote something specific over your life. Not a general blessing, not a vague sense of goodness. A specific assignment, a particular work, a calling with your exact nature, your exact history, your exact wounds, and your exact wisdom built directly into its design. Jeremiah 1:5. Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart. That was not written for Jeremiah alone. That was written for the person sitting exactly where you are sitting right now. You were chosen before you ever had a chance to disqualify yourself. Now hear this next part carefully. The decades that felt like delay, they were not cancellation. The silent years, the invisible years, the years where nothing seemed to move and nobody seemed to notice, those years were not God turning away from you. They were God building something inside you that the assignment required before it could be safely carried. Moses spent 40 years in a desert that looked like failure. 40 years. And the Bible says, when God finally spoke from that burning bush, Moses was exactly the man the moment required. Not in spite of the wilderness, because of it. The pain you endured prepared you. The losses refined you. The silence deepened you. And the fact that you are still here, still watching, still believing, still unable to fully walk away from what God placed in you, that is not stubbornness. That is divine tenacity that was built into you before you were born. But beloved, I need to say something now that love will not allow me to leave unsaid. The door is open. Right now, tonight, in this very season of your life, the door is standing open. But a door standing open is not the same as a door standing open forever. Ecclesiastes 9:10. Whatever your hand finds to do, do it with all your might. Not tomorrow, not when the fear settles, not when the conditions improve. Now, with all your might. Here is the question that will cut through every excuse you have been carrying. If you knew with absolute certainty that the door would close in 30 days, what would you do tomorrow morning that you have not done yet? Answer that question honestly, because that answer is your assignment. There is a trumpet that has spent years sitting in silence, not broken, not forgotten, just waiting for someone to finally fill it with breath. That trumpet is your calling, and the breath it has been waiting for, that is your obedience. Not your perfection, not your complete preparation, your obedience. One step, one move, one concrete act of faith within the next 24 hours. Pick up the old notebook you stopped writing in. Make the phone call you have been composing in your head for 3 years. Say yes to the ministry that keeps finding its way back to you. Speak the truth you have been swallowing to keep the peace. Write the message that only you can write. Mentor the younger person who is standing exactly where you once stood. Stop hiding behind the roles that are safe and step back into the one that is sacred. Pray out loud again, in public, without apology. Do something today that signals to heaven and to everything, watching that you have heard the commissioning and you are moving, because this is the truth that the enemy has spent years trying to keep you from receiving. You were chosen. You were being prepared, and now you must move. Romans 8:30. Those he called, he also justified. Those he justified, he also glorified. The call on your life was never revoked. The justification was settled at the cross. The glorification, the visible, undeniable evidence of what God can do through a surrendered life. That is what is waiting on the other side of your yes. But it requires a yes. God is still waiting for yours. He is patient. He is faithful. He is full of mercy that does not run dry. But beloved, he is not waiting forever. And you feel that. That urgency in your spirit right now is not anxiety. That is a holy alarm. That is the sound of a window that is still open, calling to a soul that is finally ready to climb through. You are not too old. You are too prepared to stay hidden. The clock is real, but so is the calling. Do not let the rest of your life be spent explaining to yourself why you never fully became what heaven wrote before you were born. If you are done negotiating with delay, if something in you has finally said, enough waiting, enough shrinking, enough hiding, then type right now, I will not die unopened. Send this message to the person in your life who believes they missed their moment, because they didn't, and neither did you. Stay connected to this channel, because what God begins in a moment of recognition must continue in a season of reinforcement. The lamp is still burning. The door is still open. Move.